From the moment the United States declared its independence in 1776, its journey toward becoming a global superpower began, not as an obvious destiny, but as a fragile experiment. At the time of independence, America was weak, divided, and poor. 13 former British colonies, stretched along the Atlantic coast, faced enormous challenges: no strong army, no navy capable of protecting trade, little industry, and almost no influence beyond North America. The great powers of the world were European empires such as Britain, France, and Spain. America's survival itself was uncertain, let alone any dream of becoming a dominant world power. In its early decades, the United States focused almost entirely on internal stability. The adoption of the Constitution in 1787 created a strong federal system that balanced power between the states and the central government. This political stability proved crucial. While many new nations collapsed into dictatorship or chaos, the U.S. developed functioning institutions, courts, a legislature, a presidency, and a system of law that encouraged investment and growth. Early leaders such as George Washington and Alexander Hamilton emphasized neutrality in foreign affairs and economic development at home. America deliberately avoided European wars, understanding that it lacked the strength to compete globally. During the first half of the 19th century, America's power grew not outward across oceans, but inward across the continent. Through purchases, wars, and treaties, the country expanded westward at an astonishing pace. The Louisiana Purchase of 1803 doubled the nation's size overnight. As settlers moved west, vast lands were turned into farms, towns, and later industrial centers. Railroads connected the continent, allowing goods, people, and ideas to move faster than ever before. This territorial expansion created immense wealth but also came at a terrible cost, especially for Native American populations who were displaced, killed, or forced into reservations. At the same time, the U.S. economy began transforming from agriculture-based to industrial. Northern states developed factories, while southern states relied on plantation agriculture powered by enslaved labor. This contradiction eventually exploded into the American Civil War in 1861. The Civil War was one of the most brutal conflicts of the 19th century, but it fundamentally reshaped the nation. The victory of the Union preserved the country and abolished slavery, while strengthening the federal government. After the war, America entered a period of rapid industrialization unmatched in speed and scale. Between 1870 and 1900, the United States emerged as the world's leading industrial economy. Steel production, oil extraction, electricity, and mass manufacturing grew at explosive rates. Immigrants from Europe and Asia poured into American cities, providing labor and talent. Companies such as Carnegie Steel, Standard Oil, and later Ford Motor Company transformed production methods and generated enormous wealth. By the end of the 19th century, the U.S. economy was larger than that of Britain, the long-standing industrial leader. Economically, America had become a giant, but politically and militarily it still hesitated to act like one on the world stage. That hesitation began to fade in 1898 with the Spanish-American War. This short but decisive conflict marked America's first major step into imperial power. By defeating Spain, the U.S. gained overseas territories such as Puerto Rico, Guam, and the Philippines, and established itself as a power beyond North America. For the first time, America possessed colonies and projected military force across oceans. Though small compared to European empires, this shift signaled a new ambition. America was no longer content to remain isolated. World War I further accelerated America's rise. When the war began in 1914, the U.S. again tried to remain neutral, focusing on trade and industry. This neutrality benefited the American economy immensely. While Europe destroyed itself in years of brutal warfare, American factories supplied food, weapons, and materials to the Allied powers. By the time the U.S. entered the war in 1917, it had already become the world's largest creditor. American troops played a decisive role in the war's final year, tipping the balance against Germany. When the war ended in 1918, Europe was exhausted, in debt, and damaged, while America emerged wealthier and stronger than ever. Yet, despite this power, the United States stepped back from global leadership. The rejection of the League of Nations reflected a strong desire among Americans to avoid foreign entanglements. During the 1920s, the U.S. focused on domestic prosperity, technological innovation, and consumer culture. However, the Great Depression of 1929 revealed the vulnerability of even the strongest economy. The economic collapse affected the entire world, but America's eventual recovery, driven by industrial capacity and government reform, positioned it to play a decisive role in the next global crisis. World War II was the defining moment in America's transformation into a superpower. When war erupted in 1939, the United States once again initially stayed out, but its industrial strength soon became crucial. After Japan's attack on Pearl Harbor in 1941, America entered the war fully. What followed was an unprecedented mobilization of resources. American factories produced ships, planes, tanks, and weapons on a scale never before seen. The U.S. not only supplied its own military but also supported allies across the world. Fighting on two fronts, in Europe and the Pacific, America demonstrated overwhelming military, industrial, and organizational power. By the time World War II ended in 1945, the global balance of power had completely changed. Europe lay in ruins, Japan was devastated, and traditional colonial empires were weakened beyond repair. The Soviet Union had suffered enormous losses despite its victory. The United States, in contrast, emerged with its cities intact, its economy booming, and its military unmatched. It also possessed something no other nation had at the time: nuclear weapons. The atomic bomb symbolized America's arrival as a new kind of power, capable of shaping global events through both strength and deterrence. From 1945 onward, the U.S. was undeniably a superpower. It took a leading role in shaping the post-war world order. Through initiatives such as the Marshall Plan, America rebuilt Western Europe, stabilizing economies and preventing the spread of communism. It helped create global institutions like the United Nations, the International Monetary Fund, and the World Bank, embedding its influence in the global system. Militarily, the U.S. established alliances such as NATO and placed bases across the world, ensuring global reach. The Cold War era defined America's role for nearly half a century. Locked in ideological, political, and military rivalry with the Soviet Union, the U.S. competed for influence in every region. This competition extended beyond armies and weapons into culture, science, and technology. The space race, the spread of American media, and advances in computing and medicine all reinforced U.S. dominance. Although conflicts such as Korea and Vietnam exposed limits and caused deep internal divisions, they did not erase America's overall strength. When the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991, the world entered a new phase. For the first time in modern history, a single country stood above all others. The United States became the world's sole superpower, dominating global finance, military power, and technological innovation. The US dollar became the backbone of global trade, American companies led the digital revolution, and US military forces could intervene anywhere on the planet. In the decades that followed, new challenges emerged. Terrorism, long wars in the Middle East, economic crises, and the rise of new powers such as China tested America's dominance. Yet even amid these challenges, the foundations built over 2 centuries, strong institutions, innovation, economic scale, and global influence, have kept the United States at the center of world affairs. America did not become a superpower overnight. Its rise was the result of geography, resources, political stability, industrial growth, military success, and historical opportunity. The true turning point came in 1945, when World War II ended and the old world order collapsed. From that moment onward, the United States was no longer just a powerful nation, it was a superpower whose decisions shaped the destiny of the modern world.